Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us in another cybersecurity series videos. I really wish that Pierluigi and I will be talking about soccer and not another ransomware attack, because I know that he and I have a passion about that. But here we are talking about another ransomware attack. First of all, let me allow Pierluigi to introduce himself.
Very briefly, good morning, and thank you. I'm Pierluigi Stella, CTO and co-founder of NetworkBox USA, a cybersecurity managed cybersecurity provider in Houston, in business for 22 years, serving MSPs and clients across the country.
Thank you, Pierluigi. And I'm Andy. I'm the CISO for Factor Technology, an MSP, MSSP provider in Texas. Pierluigi and I have a lot of history together. We share a lot of very common grounds. And I asked him, hey, do you mind if we have a conversation about this? Because I feel it's relevant and I feel the audience will learn from our conversation. So I will start with the first question for you, Pierluigi. Tell me a little bit about, because some people maybe they don't know who is Ingram, and what happened at the very high level.
Yeah, and what makes this a very major deal because of the size of the company, right? Ingram Micro is one of the world largest B2B technology distributors and service providers. They are headquartered in California, and they distribute hardware, software, cloud, mobility solutions for thousands of vendors, including the largest in the industry, like Apple, Microsoft, Cisco, and so forth. Their clients are MSPs and resellers. It's a B2B. They don't distribute directly to clients. They offer, what do they offer? It's being ourselves as service providers, we understand well all the headaches of the logistics of getting the order, placing the order, fulfilling the order, and then the renewal and the payments. This is all stuff that is not technical, right? And it kind of, for companies like ours, is a distraction to the business. And Ingram Micro is the company that sits in the middle and takes the order, places the order, fulfills it, renews it, and so forth. They are quite large. They have 24,000 people, over 50 countries.
Wow.
And they have a revenue of $48 billion, so thereabouts. They were a public corporation. At some point, they were purchased by a private firm, but then they went public again in October 2014. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, also means that this attack, because of the public corporation, they were obligated to certain requirements imposed by the SEC.
Wow, that's a good point, right? So we're not talking about someone who probably did not have budget for cybersecurity.
No.
Some people sometimes they think that these kind of things only happen to very small organizations that they don't have money. This, again, can happen to a huge organization like Ingram Micro. This is something that probably you and I talk all the time. This is not only targeting, small business, they target everyone.
Yeah, it happens to everyone. Yes, exactly. You cannot say either way. You can't say they only want the big guys like Ingram Micro. It's not going to happen to me. And or they only want the small guys. Right, the other way. It just sometimes the attacks can be targeted, and maybe in this case it was. But most of the times these attacks are random. They're just random. They just
you fall into
that. You fall into the trap and they get you. That's it.
Yeah, I call that the shotgun approach. The shotgun approach where you spread and then hoping to hit one of those situations.
I don't know that in this case it was the case. I think in this case it was more targeted because of the way the attack happened, the way that this particular ransomware company, I like to call them, organization, because they're gangs, they're like companies, actually conducted the attack.
Well, let's get to that point, and I will talk a little bit of what we know, because again, there's still a lot of unknowns, and there's still a lot of suspicions of what happened. So what we know from a timeline perspective, this happened on July 3rd, so that was a week ago, where we saw some outages from Ingram Micro, pretty much their website and some other of the systems that they use for people to put orders to be offline. On Saturday, so a little bit later, 36 hours later, Ingram Micro recognized through the webpage that they were having a ransomware attack, which, by the way, this is a
admit this problem.
I really hope that everyone, is doing, the best they can to get back online for the morale of that business and also for their clients. Now, what we know so far is that the Safeway ransomware group, which is, a specific group that has been very active last year, was responsible for this. Or at least they're saying that they are responsible for this. Now, there's suspicion that they use the Global Protect VPN, which is the Palo Alto VPN client, to get in through their environment through compromised credentials. Now, Palo Alto, making a statement saying that that's not true. So there's still, confusion about how these guys were able to get in on the network. And Ingram is not saying that it was this way or the other way. Is not really communicating what happened.
Well, because they probably are still investigating. It's too early. And so there is one part of this is, and I was reading an article about there are no known vulnerabilities for the appliance at this time. So if they did exploit a vulnerability, it's one that is not actually known publicly.
Correct.
And this could happen because hackers sometimes do their own homework and sometimes find vulnerabilities that even the manufacturer doesn't know yet, right?
Yeah.
But the most apparently or allegedly, the most likely suspicion is that they literally stole credentials. So this attack didn't start as somebody trying to get into the VPN appliance directly through vulnerability, but it started through some other way by stealing some employee's credential and then getting through the VPN with their credentials. It literally seems like, from what I have been reading, the attack didn't even look like an attack until it became an attack. Yeah. They had time to linger on the network, to get in through the VPN undetected. And the only way this happens is if you really look like a legitimate user. And that's why the suspicion of maybe they add RDP'd to a machine with the machine credentials. They didn't just have the VPN credentials. They also had the RDP credentials, according to what I've been reading. That means they stole somebody's credentials, right? It has I'm not leaning towards, and obviously we don't know the facts. We don't know the answer. It's just we're just hypothetical, right? The fact that Palo Alto says it's not us, it's probably true. There is the high chance here that they literally stole somebody's credentials.
Yeah, and let's be clear. What Pierluigi and I are discussing here is how this group normally has behaved in the past. Mm-hmm. So our assumptions is not because we're reading some place that is not official. No. What we are saying is the suspicion is based about how the Safe Pay group has worked in the past and what they have published about this situation.
Which is what you usually do in these cases. So you look at previous behavior, you look at signatures, you look at characteristics that are common. Right?
Yeah, the TTPs for this particular group are very specific. Again, this is a group that has been very active last year, and you can see that the ransomware attacks that they conducted, they all have like these similarities that Pierluigi is mentioning. So it's not that we are playing, let's guess. No, these guys normally behave in this way. It may not be this case, but that's how they normally behave. Now, let me finish with what else we know about this ransomware attack. Now, we know that in July 9, Ingram Micro already posted in their site saying that they are fully operational, that the error service that they have are already back online. So that's good for them. I'm very happy. It took them almost a week, and this is something important I want you guys to realize. It took them from the 3rd to the 9th to have everything back. Imagine that impact to your business. So you understand if a company as large as took them, almost a full week to get restored, just imagine what can do that to your business. And then the last piece of what we know is that there's no information about if there was any data exfiltration, where there's a lot of questions in the community about that specific question, and then there's no clear message from them about.
I believe that they think there was, because again, we go back to the MO of this organization. They typically use this two-phase attack where first they take the data and then they encrypt it. And so now they're holding hostage twice, not only because you can work, but also because if you don't pay your data, they've already stolen your data and they can publish it. And the data they can hold in this case could be quite sensitive. Ingram Micro probably has a lot of confidential information about their clients, right? What their clients buy, how much they pay, and the workload, how much they buy. This is information that competitors could use.
I want to get there. I want you to tell me again. You are a service provider like we are in Factor. What do you think the impact of this attack was?
Depending on the size of your business, it might have been even big, like quite. Think of it this way: if you're selling a couple of switches a month, okay, maybe it's the impact was zero, right? But if you are probably, I would say, the larger a client of theirs you are, the more impactful this was, because all of a sudden you cannot fulfill your orders for a week. Right? And not just your orders, it's also the services, because Ingram Micro provides also some services, especially cloud-based. And these, for an entire week, the services are down or cannot be provided, or cannot be, you cannot put orders, you cannot buy the switches. Okay, maybe you can say a week of delay is not a big deal. We'll catch up. Yes, they will catch up, right? Definitely. But it's disruptive, and definitely, I'm quite sure that they lost, the amount of money that this is going to cost them is going to be measured in the millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And
yeah, there's a lot of
what
compliance.
I foresee is a potential lawsuit, because this is, then when it rains, it pours. The people that will be able to say, I lost this project or I lost this much money because of a problem, are likely to line up behind the door and ask for money.
Yeah.
Maybe it won't happen. Maybe they will be able to put a block to all this. But I remember that what happened with Target and what happened in many other situations. The people that are being impacted somehow want to be recognized and remunerated sometimes. So that could be, right? So the impact is not just the impact of the 7 days and the delay of the switch delivery, right? Okay, a switch delivered a week late, whatever, right? We'll catch up. We'll work double time and we'll catch up. It's more of the potential impact, image impact. Now you lost your reputation, you lost money. It cost you a lot of money just to recover, and now you got thousands of people at your door asking for compensation because they lost money because of it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
It's just an enormous headache in every sense.
No, that's a very good point. So now I want to talk about one more thing before we close, which is the communication aspects of this incident, right? Because I feel that, we all know that this can happen to any organization, right? But at least the communication aspects is where I feel that the criticism that I see in the community, it has been a little bit harsh on Ingram Micro. And the main reason has been because they have been very slow to confirm what happened and share the indicators of compromise, so people can protect themselves. They're very keeping this very close to the chest. So we still do not know what happened. There's no confirmation of indicators of compromise.
But do they know?
There's nothing there for us to actually protect the business. So if you're a client, let's say you're a client.
From that point of view, I like to be a little bit also. I usually like to. I don't like to give the cross against people like this, because a week later I don't even know if they know. Right? Do they know all the questions you're asking?
I agree.
Did they do what the SEC requires? They did, because otherwise they would be worse, because the SEC can legally go after them if they don't do it. So they did what is legally required. Is there a possibility that this attack may spread to others? Probably not, because this type of attack is targeted. It stays there where it is. It's not going to go jump on an email or a server and go somewhere else to a customer. The possibility, the reality of it is, they got in before, they stole credentials. What we need to know as clients of theirs is, did they steal my credentials?
Correct.
That is.
Do they have any information from
our? It is possible that a week later they might not know yet. So making announcements and giving statements when you do not know exactly what you're going to say, I understand if they're trying to be extremely contained from their point of view. They don't want to say too much, They don't want to say wrong things, right? The important thing now is they told us, we know there was an attack, we are prepared or not, depends on us now, right? But at the same time, we'll see how the communication continues in the future as the investigation involves, because now there is law enforcement involved. So the communications are also controlled because there is law there is the police is involved, the FBI probably. So they can't just go out and start communicating, right? Because it's controlled also by the law enforcement.
Yeah.
How does this evolve in the next week, 2 weeks, a month? Because analyzing every single one of the other very large attacks that we've seen over the years, it's a continuous changing of information for a few months as the analysis continues. It's not like tomorrow they close it up and they're done. This is going
To be honest, I feel that they could be a little bit more open. I feel that if this was not target or not, we do not know. But at least the indicators of compromise or something like this, if the FBI is involved, the FBI normally would share that information quickly with the type of considerations that information and classification that the information will have. So I think this is my take on the communication. They could be a little bit more open on what happened, and also if they don't know if your information has been compromised, just say I don't know. There's no problem saying that. We that may be a situation. I would expect them to say.
I'm not a customer of theirs, but if I were, I would have already changed my passwords, just in case.
Just in case.
There is a point at which I also have to protect myself. I cannot just wait for them to tell me, oh, your password was lost, and that's 3 months later because until today they didn't know, right? I cannot fault them if I did not do my own due diligence. I know there was a problem. They may have lost my password. Let me change it. Period. Okay? Be proactive to protect yourself. Don't wait for them to come and tell you that they lost your password. Okay? There's a chance they did. Okay, go change it. Done. Okay? And especially go check, do a scan of your password and see where else you might have been using the password, because let's face it, we all fall pretty much into the category of a few passwords are being reused here and there, and that could be the reason why they got compromised anyway. Maybe one of their users was reusing passwords elsewhere, right?
Well, with that, we're over a little bit of the time that we said that we're going to cover this. Any final comments or any final recommendations for people that that is listening to us?
There is the thing. I'll try to be very fast. I do technology for a living, so to me the technology is a part that's most lacking here, right? They probably spend an enormous amount of money on thinking that they're protecting themselves, but apparently they're lacking one of the most fundamental technologies for protection that we have today. The zero trust at the endpoint level. And I will name 2 companies because I know 2 companies, TrustWave and White Cloud Security. They both take the same approach to zero trust. They're not antiviruses, they're zero trust components. They will not let anything run unless it's authorized. If you have one of those on your machine and you install ransomware, it will simply not run, aside from the fact that you may not even be able to install it. So first of all, you can't install it. Second, if you do, you can't run it. Period. You cannot run it. It's a level of protection that is beyond anything else you can think of. There is EDR here and EDR there. When I see the word D, I always get on the defensive, because D means detection. Detection is too late. Detection is a camera inside my house that tells me that there is a thief that's already taken all of my stuff out. It's too late. The zero trust is the approach that we have been discussing for 10 years now. And these companies are implementing zero trust at the anti-malware level. And it's very important. I don't understand why the entire world hasn't adopted this type of approach yet. Because there are other companies that claim that they do ransomware protection and this protection and that protection. Not true. It's just simply not true.
Yeah.
Okay? It's impossible unless you are. There are too many, too fast. We're talking 1,250 new ones every minute. You cannot keep up with it. The only way is to say nothing passes through unless I know what it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. My only practical recommendation, I was reading one of the people who was discussing this case, is like, be aware of some of the exceptions that you may have, because some people were saying that this may be someone who has VPN access which did not have MFA, because the MFA was turned off to troubleshoot some problem, and then that was never turned on back. And we all know that happens, right? Happens very often, more than we would like to
It's a
recognize.
company of 24,000 people. I apologize for interrupting you.
Yeah, so we're saying,
How
be
do you
aware of
control
that, and then audit that, and then make sure that you know your exceptions for some of the practical controls that you have in place, to make sure that people cannot get through the window to your environment. Because at the end, you can have the most expensive security solutions in place, but if you allow all these exceptions all over the place and you don't control them correctly, then those will be no use.
Again, I agree, but with a caveat. This is a company of 24,000 people. How do you know if one of your users 50,000 miles across the ocean turned off MFA? You might know if you write, but is there a software that will actually tell me?
Oh, for sure.
Exactly. So
For sure, yeah, you can control that very well. So
okay.
so any exceptions like turning off the VPN, the MFA is not an option for a user. An administrator has to do that change, right? So
Absolutely.
admin, what the auditing what the admin is doing and what the exceptions are, pretty much all VPN solutions today will let you do that. Yes.
Good. Okay. And that, I know it's just an example, but it's important to underline, because somebody could say, but it's 24,000 people. How do I do that? There are
Solutions for sure. Yeah. So I agree with you that sometimes the complexity of the environment will rein some of these controls very difficult. But at the end, you have to have it. And again, if you go to SOC 2 Type 2, ISO 27001, PCI DSS, all these things that probably this company has to be complying with, they are very strict about documenting your exemptions in your processes, and how you control.
Somehow something slips through the cracks.
Yeah, and it's just sometimes it's difficult, but it's something that you have to pay attention. Well, we're over. I told Pierluigi, let's do 10 minutes. We're already in 22 minutes. So thank you, Pierluigi, today for the time. Appreciate your expertise, your knowledge, and your openness for this video. You guys have a great day. Thank you. And we are here for supporting you. Network Box, 5-Factor Technology. Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye-bye. Thank you.